I have, Zrat Hashem, this is the first, throughout the years I've had many classes in this building. This is the first one that we're going to be dealing with Nevi'im and Ktuvim. We're going to do Zrat Hashem half an hour Mishlei, and half an hour we're going to do Yehoshua. We're going to start from the beginning of Yehoshua. We have to realize that, obviously the entire Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ktuvim, it's different levels of divine inspirations. It's not teachings of individuals, of human beings. We are talking about interjections that were inspired, at least, by Hashem. This is our belief. It's not the same level. We know that in the Torah, the 5 books of Torah, from beginning Bereshit till Ne'elei Kol Yisrael, every word is the word of Hashem. So obviously, Torah is a different level of holiness than the rest of Nevi'im and Ktuvim. This is very important that that we should bear that in mind. So Torah, every word is the word of Hashem. Even Devarim, that in the parts that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote a few of the parashiyot, even these are words that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem, put his seal of approval on every word of Torah. Torah, the Chamisha Chumsha Torah, Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim, and that's why you see whenever you have the Kedusha, it's not the same. See, even there is a question whether you could input in the Hechal Sefer Haftarot or not. Rabbi Paskins you could, but Ashkenazim wouldn't. Ashkenazim would not put the Torah and Sefer Haftarot in the same. They have something underneath. For they have the Navi, even if it's written on parchment, because it's on the same level of Kedusha. Rabbi, the other poskim, they say as long as it's distinguished, you could put it in the Aron. It is clear cut that this is Sefer Haftarot, and really halachically, you cannot even put the rimonim that you put on a Sefer Torah on a Sefer Haftarot, because the levels of Kedusha are not the same. Torah, every word is the word of Hashem, but Nevi'im, which we're going to be starting tonight, whether it's Yehoshua or Mishlei, Nevi'im and Ktuvim, they are divinely inspired, but the words are not, every word, it's not the word of Hashem. Mishlei, it's the words of Shlomo Melech Alav Shalom, but they were written by Ruach HaKodesh. There's a level that there is the divinity is definitely involved, and the inspiration is divine, but the words are not the words of Hashem. The words of Shlomo Melech Alav Shalom. And there was a lot of debate, right? What to include in Nevi'im and Ktuvim and what not to include. We learned Daf Yomi, there is Sefer Ben Sira, for instance. Ben Sira also has a lot of good lessons in life, for life in it. But Chachamim decided that this is Ben Sira, it's just, a wise man, this is his advice, right? It's a very intellectual, smart human being wrote it. So that's why it has value, but it's not part of Tanakh. It's not part of Nevi'im and Ktuvim. But we know that Nevi'im and Ktuvim, all of them were written by prophets. It's inspired divinely, but not the same level of Kedusha that Chamisha Chumsha Torah. And that's why also whenever they printed Tanakh, always Torah is on top. And also if you have books that you're piling up, you have to make sure that if there is Torah there, the Chumash should be on top, and the other books are underneath. Nevi'im Ktuvim. With all that introduction, we start with Zrat Hashem tonight. We're going to have roughly half an hour Mishlei, and the other half we're going to start from the beginning of Yehoshua. Shlomo Melech Alav Shalom wrote 3 books that were incorporated in Tanakh. Right? He wrote Mishlei, he wrote Kohelet, and Shir HaShirim. Right? These are the 3 books that were, written by by Shlomo HaMelech, that we know he was considered the wisest, right, of any human being was Shlomo HaMelech. There was never, even I mean, it's Moshe Rabbeinu is number one in prophecy. But as far as the Chokhmah, Shlomo HaMelech was above anybody else, right? And it's very interesting, the 3 books that Shlomo HaMelech wrote, it's not, we know, Shir HaShirim is Chokhmah, Kohelet is Binah, and Mishlei is Dat. I think the Chabadniks would like that. Chabad stands for Chokhmah, Binah, Dat. So Shlomo HaMelech, he wrote, right, the 3 books. Shir HaShirim, Neged HaChokhmah, Kohelet is Binah, and Mishlei is Dat. These are 3 types of, what probably in English would be wisdom, all of them. But it's different levels. It's very interesting that out of the 3, right, Nashim, it says Da'atan Kalot. Nashim, ladies, in 2 of these 3, they are stronger than men. Chokhmat, right, this is Chokhmat Nashim Banta Beita, and Bina Yetera Nitna Ba'isha. When it comes to that, ladies are in disadvantage compared to men. Chokhmah, Bina, Vadat, we're going to be dealing with this a lot through Mishlei. Mishlei, it's mostly, as we said, it's that, and what really Mishlei is, it's a combination of Chokhmah and Bina. I think in English, you would translate that judgment. Chokhmah is knowledge. Bina, it's when we make inferences from that knowledge. For instance, that example that I always use, like Chokhmah would teach you that if you want to open a screw, you need a screwdriver. Right? The screwdriver is right away, what is this for? To open a screw, right? To work with screws. This is Chokhmah. It's information that goes in our brain. What is Bina? Bina is like, I take that information and I add to it from my own. I develop it. For instance, I go deep to see, okay, what is it saying? Like in a screwdriver, how does it work, screwdriver? Like in its physics. I apply this weight on this thing. It has a narrow thing that I put in the thing, and it doesn't have to be a screwdriver. I could use a dime also. A dime could do the same thing. So that was Chokhmah. Chokhmah is a screwdriver. Bina would be, right, that what we add to it, it's our own, right, that, a dime could do the same function, and that is judgment. That is knowing exactly this information that we have learned and stored in our brain, when to use it. See? Judgment, it's very, very important. See, some people, they have Chokhmah. Some people, they have Bina. But you see, that is combining Chokhmah and Bina and having the judgment when to use that information. Sometimes you could abuse it. You could use it when it's before Elmo Helm, Elmo Helm ba'ad b'hamiyeh to'am b'shem. Elm is Chokhmah and Bina. That, you need to be smart to know this information that they have learned, when is it applicable and when it's not. And my Rosh Yeshiva Wamber Zatzal, right, this is one of the major things I learned from him. He says, always in Shmona Esrei, concentrate on that, the Ata Chonen La'adam Dat, Umelamed Le'enosh Bina, and then he said, V'chonenu me'itcha chokhmah bina v'da'at, all 3, Baruch Ata Hashem Chonen Hada'at. Because you see, the other ones you could do, it's Hashem, you need Hashem's help. You could have chokhmah, you could have bina, you could study. You could study, you have the chokhmah. Right. And you have the bina, that, as we said, that depends on how smart a person is, that you could infer from that information, take a step further. But you see, knowing this, that, the information that I learn, when to apply it, in what circumstances, that is only siyata dishmaya. That's why we say, "Chonenu me'itecha chokhmah bina u'dat baruch atah Hashem chonen hadat." That comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Shlomo Melech is going to help us with that. That's why Sefer Mishras, we say, it's that. It's the Chokhmah and Binah applied to give us that judgment when to use it. And so, with that introduction, we start with Bezrat Hashem, the beginning of Mishle Shlomo ben David Melech Israel. Shlomo Melech, right? These are the Mishalim. It's going to be, you see, unlike other, like in the Sefer Yoshua, you're going to see there's going to be a story that goes on. There's a storyline. Here in Mishle, we don't have a storyline. We have psukim, we have verses that each one of them. Right? Some say that one of my Rebbes used to say like every two psukim maybe they are connected, but basically most of Farshim say like it's lessons for life in each pasuk, independent of each other. Shlomo Melech, right, introduces himself as Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Israel, Ladat Chokhmah u'Musar lehavin imrei bina. This is the introduction that we said. That he says, look, what you're going to get from this book, Chokhmah and Musar lehavin imrei bina. We have, this is really the dat, which is the combination of Chokhmah and Bina. And obviously, a person has to be committed to internalize what Shlomo Melech says. The word Musar, right, we have to realize Musar comes from Yisurim. The word Musar comes from Yisurim. And it's Yisurim in a sense that, change, it's very difficult. For human beings to change is the most difficult thing in life. Babies even don't like to be changed. Even if they are in dirt, they need to be changed. When you change them, they start crying. Because there is like you're comfortable in that situation. And Musar, it's like, really a person needs, to work on himself. It's that, as we're going to see, I'm going to mostly use the Perush of Gaon on Mishlei, right? The presumption is that everybody is born with certain imperfections that needs to work on it, right? We always say from Ramchal that Hashem has put us here in this world for three purposes: Torah and mitzvot, to withstand ordeals and tests, and to work on our midot, right? To work on our imperfections. This is the purpose. This is the purpose. Ramchal Gaon in Mishnah, you're going to see. He's going to say, this is actually his introduction. This is going to be, come to it, to Mishnah 4, Yud Gimel. It's one of the most important, most famous sayings of Gaon Mivilna, right, in Sefer Mishnah. He says, listen to the words. Gaon says, Ma sheha'adam chai hu kedei lishbor hamidah shelo shavar atena. Since if we are alive, is in order to change. Ma sheha'adam chai hu kedei lishbor hamidah shelo shavar atena. And if we are still alive, apparently we have some job to do. That's what he's saying. Because, right, as you know, in the Zohar HaKadosh, at the end of Parashat Vayechi, Zohar HaKadosh says, right, our coming to this world, it's like a king, that a son was born to him, and he didn't want to raise his son in the palace, because little kids make a mess. So what does the king do? He sends his son to a faraway village. He had a trusted servant, and constantly he's in touch to see how's his son doing. And when he hears that his son or his daughter came to perfection, he sends his malach and he brings him to himself. Right? So when a person departs from this world, we have to know that apparently that person then they reached that level of perfection that they were sent here for. Right? So that's where Gaon says, Ma'asha Adam Chai, if a person still is breathing and is alive, Kedei Lishbor Hamidah Shelo Shavar Aten Haitzim, in order to, right, Lishbor, to break a certain midah, a bad midah that he has. It could be anger, it could be laziness, it could be being messy, it could be being, revengeful. I mean, all the midot ra'ot. Rabbi Salanter has 13 midot that he says a person is born to work. Maybe in one of the classes we are going to go through those 13 imperfections that a person needs to work on himself. And Gaon says if a person is still alive, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still gives him life. It's for what? Kedei lishbor hamidah shelo shavar atena. So there are two ways to do that. Either to go to therapy or to learn Musar and to take the Musar seriously. And that's why it's called Musar, because it's like Yisurim. It's like, in Mishnah Shlomo Melech says, it's like, you have a horse, and you want the horse, like, to go fast. Apparently the cowboys, they have some kind of, what do they call it, some kind of nail or something, sharp thing in the boots.
Spur.
Huh?
Spur.
Spur, exactly. And you kick the horse with it, and the horse realizes that it's off. It's not going the right way. That's why it's called Musar. It should be, it's painful. And ולכך צריך תמיד להתחזק. ואם לא יתחזק, למה לא חיים? It says, if not for this, there is no reason for, if we are alive, that means still, there are things that we need to work on. Like the famous thing of Rabbi Salanter, once he goes to a shoemaker, and it was dark. He says, till when are you going to work? I mean, it's dark already. So he tells him, as long as the candle is lit, I have to work. So he says something, he says, wow, what a lesson I learned from you. He said, what lesson? He said, yeah, as long as the neshama is like a nail, as long as the neshama is lit, there is yesh zaman letaken, there is time to fix. So this is what Mishlei is about. לדעת, חוכמה ומוסר. להבין אמרי בינה. Right? So, מוסר שאם יצרו מתגבר עליו, ייסר את עצמו וישבור אותו. Gaon says, Musar is like, when Yetzer Hara, and you see Yetzer Hara, we know Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is probably the most important thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in the world is Yetzer Hara. Without Yetzer Hara, in school a lot of times I start my assemblies with the kids, and they know it already. What is the most important thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created is Yetzer Hara. Because you see, without Yetzer Hara, there is no reason for us being in this world. The evil inclination is there for us to conquer it. And through that, you're going to get our Olam Haba, right? I always say what the Katzke Rebbe used to say, like, if Chametz, it's such a it took so much to Biur Chametz, that we should not have any Chametz during Pesach. So if that's the case, that Chametz is so important, so Chamur, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us to bake matzot with wheat flour? Why is it would be safe that Hashem should make it from corn flour, from rice flour, because those they cannot become chametz, right? Why is it that Hashem says that you should make matzot from wheat flour? So He says this is the lesson. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, because chametz is Yetzer Hara. Hashem says, I want you to live in the world that there is Yetzer Hara. If there is no Yetzer Hara, to make matzot with corn flour, that's not the concept. What's the purpose? The whole purpose is you have the dough that could rise, and you make sure it doesn't. So the Yetzer Hara is without any doubt. Really, when it says Tov Me'od in Maaseh Bereshit, it's Yetzer Hara. Because without Yetzer Hara, there is no reason for us being on this planet Earth. And Yetzer Hara is, could be, we have all kinds of Yetzer Haras, right? From anger, we have Yetzer Hara for, for the intimacy issues. You have, kavod, gava, right? You have all kinds of Yetzer Haras. So Gaon says, "Sheim yitzro mitgaber alav yiyasser et atzmo v'yishbor oto." The idea is to break, to have control. And Gaon is going to tell us later. We're going to see. Mishneh Shlomo Melech actually says, "You cannot change a person. You cannot change a person from what totally. It's not possible. And we should not try to change ourselves from one end to another. It's impossible. It's not doable. What Hashem expects of us is really to have control on the evil inclination. If somebody has anger, there is no way that the person could, right, turn himself to become like a potato. It's impossible. Don't even try. Right? That's why the Gemara tells us. The Gemara tells us that depending on what day of the week we are born, right, we are born with certain tendencies that we cannot change. Right? The midot that we have, it's a combination. It's a combination of certain things that we are born with and certain things that we study, we learn. And the part that we are born with, you cannot change it to the Gemara says, for instance, anybody was born on Shabbat here? Whoever was born Shabbat is dam. Shabbat is blood. Exactly. So the Gemara says, either this person could become a murderer or could become a mohel, a surgeon, etc. So in other words, you are not changing this person from what, no. You take that tendency and you build it in a constructive way. You cannot change it. It's also like, boys and girls that go out on dates. I said, look, you cannot change a person. What you see is what you get. I was just talking to on Sunday I was talking. So what you see is what you get. But Torah would help a person through musar to contain anger. Because we have to realize every midah that the Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us, and this is Mishneh is all about that, every midah that Kadosh Baruch Hu, it could be used in a constructive way also. Right? People that don't have anger, they are not high achievers in life either. They are just, laid back. No matter from what city they come from, they are laid back. They are laid back. And these kind of people really, they would achieve much less in life. A lot of times, people that have that fire in them, they accomplish much more. But they have to contain the anger and to use it for the positive. It's exactly what the Gemara says. If a person is born, right, like David HaMelech was born on Shabbat, so he used that fire, right, for what? He used it for constructive, and he was constantly working on himself to contain, right, the negativities that are associated with that midah could come up with. That's why Gaon says, "Umusar shemitzro mitgaber alav yiyasser et atzmo ve'yishbor oto." To break that midah, shenemar le'emor la'asurim tzeu la'asher b'choshech yigalu v'haynu otam shekvar b'yad yitzram ve'em asurim tachat yodo. Right? People that they have the Yetzer Hara, right? Yitz'u al yedei hamusar. Right? That, musar would help us to, right, and by internalizing the concepts that we're going to learn, right, it would help us to contain ourselves, to contain and to break our midot, to contain them, basically. And you see, when a person, and the reward is that when the people do that, they are going to be, right, the reward is unbelievable. I don't know if I was in school, I was telling the kids that there was a story, I'll conclude with that, that there was a kollel guy that was married for a couple of years, and I think we spoke about this in the Wednesday night class also, right? So that he was, a kollel guy that was married for a couple of years. He tells a story that once him and his wife were supposed to go to Rechasim, to his in-laws, for Shabbat. And so he described how they were planning everything. He says, I called the cab. People were here on Wednesday night when we were in the class, right? so he said, he had called at 12 o'clock that the cab is going to come and take them to have plenty of time for Shabbat. So he says, all of a sudden one of the neighbors heard that they're going away. So they asked him if they could use their apartment. So they said, sure, for sure, we're going to be away. But he says, his wife is a very meticulous person. So she said, okay, we have to postpone we have to go later because I have to leave the apartment in a decent way. These people are coming to use the apartment, right? He says, okay, fine. You're going to leave instead of 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Still the figure, they're going to have time. So now this kollel guy, he says, it was, I was also trying to help and studying, etc. So he says it was 20 to 4, and I saw my wife was far from being ready. She was mamish doing laundry and changing this and that. And he says, I know myself. He says, I am a person that I'm very meticulous with time. I was starting to boil over. I think all men could identify with this because nashim are lemala min hazman. This is one of the big adjustments when you get married. It's the concept of time. Usually that's the case. Sometimes it's the reverse. But usually, you make up with your wife certain time, it would, So he says, I was starting to boil over inside me, but I had learned Musar. I said, no matter what, I'm not going to get angry. I committed myself. I even didn't go to tell my wife anything. Hey, honey, the cab is going to be coming. Nothing. Nothing. I didn't say a word. It was 20 to 4. 4 o'clock, sharp, the Israeli cab driver comes, and they don't have patience in that area of Middle East. Right? He says the guy was hunking, and it's getting late. And my wife is just about, polishing the furniture whenever she was busy with that. But I had committed to myself, I'm not gonna, no matter what, I'm not gonna get angry. So finally I went down to the cab driver, says, sorry, we are not ready. Can I compensate you? And we just go. I said, sure. I gave him a couple of shkalim. The guy was very happy, went, and I lived to my, and he says, as soon as I did that, I was in a type of euphoria. And he says, then, at 4:30 or something, the cab came, we got there, and we got there on time, everything was fine. He says, the whole Shabbat, I was up in heavens. Because the Zohar HaKadosh says, when a person does Shvirat HaMidot, when you take this Yetzer and you break it, how the Neshama, what kind of aliyot the Neshama gets in Olamot, whatever that means, it purifies the Neshama. Shvirat HaMidot, this is what Gaon said. The purpose, a person is in this world to break his Midot, to work on all these evil inclinations. And he says that Shabbat was an unforgettable Shabbat. And then he says, they could not have children for a couple of years. And the type of environment and society they lived in, all frum people, that they have a lot of kids. He says, could you imagine what kind of pain me and my wife were going through, that you see everybody, Baruch Hashem, kid after kid, and we couldn't have children. He says, after this incident, his wife got pregnant. And he says, I don't have any doubts that this is what the Gaon says, the reward that a person gets for breaking his midot, for realizing a person has to know himself. And you see, in this kind of situation, a good spouse is very, very helpful. A good spouse that has Yirat Shamayim, that you trust their love and loyalty to you, they are the best person to criticize you. You have to know how to do it. You have to know how to do it without, the kavod of the. It says, in a relationship, mechabda, she has to have kavod for him like a king. Respect him like as a king, and by him also. Kavod is everything. But with kavod, to point out to that loving spouse, like these are the areas that you need to work on, because a lot of times we do not see our own deficiencies. We don't see Adam karov etzel atzmo. Adam karov etzel atzmo. You see constantly people that they have bad breath, and I feel so bad. How come their spouse doesn't tell them? I know it causes so many shalom bayit problems, right? If I feel close to somebody, I would tell them. But you see, the point is, the person has that bad breath, doesn't realize himself. We are used to it. And it's nothing. It's all kinds of. It's not the person's fault, right? It happens, but you see, it's very interesting. A person that has bad breath, usually they themselves don't realize that. You need somebody else to tell them that. Ein adam ro'eh nig'eh atzmo. The Gemara says a person cannot see his own deficiencies. Cannot. Right? That's why having a loving spouse is detrimental. That's one of the reasons that that under the chuppah we say yotzer ha'adam. How come under the chuppah we say yotzer ha'adam? That Hashem yotzer ha'adam. Hashem creates the man under the chuppah, yes. Because before you're married, right, the Gemara says the person before he gets married is not an Adam. He's not an Adam. Why? Because this is it. Because when a person gets married, then as Ezer Kenegdo, you have somebody that is committed to you, loves you, and then from him you would, otherwise our Gava doesn't allow us to hear criticism. So this is all what Mishlei is about. Musar. So we learned tonight that Musar is what comes from Yisurim. It's painful. To change is painful. Right? And we have to realize things that we learned. First of all, you cannot change from one end to another. We cannot change a person who is chasis, because I think this lady wants me on radio to talk about chesasat this week, right? So you cannot turn somebody who is really stingy to make him a generous person. It's impossible. But that behavior could be contained. That shouldn't be painful, at least. A person who has temper, there is no way to make him chacham v'taneli, right? You cannot. But what you could do is, through musar, to contain at least the behavior, right? So Bezrat Hashem should help us that we should, in these classes, continue to learn and apply the musar of Shlomo Melech alav shalom. Fine. Let's go to the second half of the class. I'll try always to finish by 9, that you could get the minyan upstairs. So Yehoshua, we start from the beginning of Yehoshua. ויהי אחרי מות משה עבד השם, ויאמר השם אל יהושע בן נון, משרת משה לאמור. Right? So certain midrashim about the personality of Yehoshua, that he is the one meaning which Moshe didn't have the zechut to take Bnei Israel into Eretz Israel. Yehoshua is the one that, as we're going to see, he took over from Moshe Rabbeinu, and he led Bnei Israel into Eretz Israel, and he was the one that helped conquer the land, and divided the land of Israel between the tribes. We have to realize, the Gemara says, that if Bnei Israel would not have sinned, we would not have had the Tanakh. We would have just the Torah and Sefer Yehoshua. The rest of it, Shoftim, Shmuel Aleph, Shmuel Bet, all the Musa, because Bnei Israel sinned, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to send in prophets to correct them. But if Bnei Israel would not have sinned, we would have just have had only Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Sefer Yehoshua. So for Sefer Yehoshua, what?
Which sin?
Constantly just reading you see, we're going to see even at the time of Yehoshua, constantly they live the ways of Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu constantly sends them warnings. It's Churban Beit HaMikdash, first Beit HaMikdash, second Beit HaMikdash. So the Gemara says, if not for all the sins, we would not have needed the rest of Tanakh. Except Yehoshua. Yehoshua is different than the rest of Nevi'im and Ketuvim. Because Yehoshua is the one, this is part of our, you have to realize, there is Am Yisrael, Torat Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael. There's a triangle. Right? The Jewish nation, Torah, and the land of Israel. These are integral. The Jewish nation cannot be complete without Eretz Yisrael. Right? So this is the triangle, Am Yisrael, Torat Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael. Jewish nation, the Torah of Israel, and the land of Israel. So that's why Yehoshua is integral, part of the Torah, because it's about conquering and really getting to settle in Eretz Yisrael. This is why we constantly davening to Hashem, and Baruch Hashem, we live in a generation that we have Eretz Yisrael. And this brings Klal Yisrael into its perfection. Without Eretz Yisrael, we would not be complete. And if you didn't see it yet, I have on YouTube a short video that from the Gaon describes current events, and this coming back to Eretz Yisrael is really he was a true chalutz, the true pioneer was Gaon Vilna. You could YouTube it. It's on Gaon on current events. So Yehoshua, in the Midrash, we see that Yehoshua, so what I'm telling you is that Yehoshua is integral. Right? Yehoshua is, it's like a continuity of Chamisha Chumshei Torah that we would have had it anyway. But from Shoftim and on, it's because of the sins HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent us those prophets and those additions to Tanakh. So, Vayomer Hashem, just to get to know Yehoshua, in Mishlei it says, Notzer te'ena yuchal pirya. If a person takes care of a fig tree, he's going to get to the fruits. The Midrash says, Notzer te'ena ze Yehoshua. Yuchal pirya, shenemar kach lecha et Yehoshua. Right, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu wanted very much that his sons would take over for him, like every father. Right? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not choose Moshe Rabbeinu's sons to take over for him. Right? So he says, Yehoshua שהיה משרת משה, לומר שמחמת הזכות הזאת שהיה משרתו, זכה למלאות את מקומו. What was the zechut that Yehoshua had, that he was the one that took over from Moshe Rabbeinu? משום נוצר תאנה יאכל פריו, because Yehoshua was, right, devoted to Moshe Rabbeinu. Yehoshua was constantly, that his hand would not leave Moshe Rabbeinu a minute. Right? So the Midrash says that at one point, after the Inyan of Benot Tzlofchad, we learned in the Sunday class, Moshe said, Higia ha'sha'ah she'etba ba'tzorki. Moshe said, now it's the time. I'm so devoted to the Jewish nation, I should ask Hashem for a reward. Im habanot yorshot, in the Parashat Benot Tzlofchad, what happened? That the daughters of Tzlofchad, because he didn't have sons, they took over for him. So you see, I also should, that my sons should take over for me. They should inherit me. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Right? Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem, could please my sons take over for me? HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, no. Notzer te'ena yochal, banecha yashvu lahem velo asku b'Torah. Yehoshua hirba harbe sheretcha. He says, your sons, the Moshe Rabbeinu's sons, were not as much of a Bnei Torah as Yehoshua was. Yehoshua right? He was constantly mashkim u'ma'ariv beveit havad shelcha. Yehoshua was devoted to Moshe Rabbeinu. Not only, he would go and, like, when you have every shiur that they have somebody comes and takes care of it, prepares everything. That was Yehoshua. Not only would study, he would serve Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Who mesader et hasafsalim. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu. Yehoshua, he's the one that would arrange the benches, etc. Who polished the machzalaot, and you sit on the floor, put the pads on the floor. הואיל והוא שירתך בכל כוחו, כדאי הוא שישמש את ישראל. Right, he's going to be taking over for you. This is Yehoshua. And we see, right, but Moshe Rabbeinu was totally Evet Hashem. After this, he was Evet Hashem. If this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu decrees, Moshe Rabbeinu makes peace with it. What's that? Yehoshua bin Nun was from Shevet Ephraim, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to see. Right? Like Yehoshua bin Nun Mesharet Moshe, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Moshe avdi met, va'ata kum avor et hayarden hazeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, my servant, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is the only person, he was called the servant of Hashem. And now you, kum avor et hayarden, you will cross Yarden, v'chol ha'am, right? So this is the introduction to the Sefer, but some a little bit more about Yehoshua. We need to know, ויאמר השם אל יהושע, מתחילה היו קוראים אותו הושע. Right? Originally we know his name was Hosea. שנאמר הושע בן נון, וכאשר עשה מעשים טובים הוסיף לו עוד אחד. Then he deserved that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should add to him the letter Yud. And you know the story with that there's a midrash that says Sarai Menu used to be called Sarai. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Yud and gave the Hey to Sarah. So the letter Yud was very upset with Hashem. Why did you? I was part of the name of a tzaddiket. Why did you take me away? So Hashem told the Yud, don't worry. I'm going to compensate you. Now you were at the end of a name of a tzaddiket. I'm going to put you at the beginning of a name of a tzaddik. That the Yud from Sarai came to be, right, the first letter of Hosea became Yehoshua. Now, we all, what?
Abraham.
Okay.
Well, the splitting of the Yud, I heard it was called...
There are a lot of midrashim, but you see, this is now. So why do we say Yehoshua bin Nun? Why don't we say Ben Nun? Moshe ben Amram. How come Yehoshua bin Nun? So they say, the first I think, it says, Sarai is a patach. Sarai is a kamatz. Where that dot come, the patach to become kamatz? From Ben, bin. Right? One dot from Ben Nun went under the patach, became kamatz. So that's why Sarai became Sarah, and Yehoshua bin Nun. So now everything is in peace, right? All the letters, even the vowels are all in peace. Also we see by Yitro, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his name was וכן אתה מוצא ביתרו, בתחילה היו קוראים אותו יתר, וילך משה יושב אל יתר חותנו, כשעשה מעשים טובים, הוסיפו לו עוד אות אחד. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the letter Vav. And also Avraham Avinu, שנאמר, והיה שמך אברהם, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? And now the Hey, the addition of Hey, we have to, Yehoshua had Hey already. But we have to know that Hey is a very pure letter. If you want to go into Kabbalah, Hey is the most pure letter that we have is Hey. How's that? Because you see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it says Hashem blew the neshama into Adam HaRishon. So now when we talk, right, when we pronounce different letters, all the letters that we pronounce, there are some obstacles. Through the tongue or the lips or the teeth, right? It's not a smooth flow of air. The only letter that there is no obstructions is Hey. Right? It's the same neshima that HaKadosh Baruch Hu breathed in us comes out without any obstructions. Hay is a very pure leather, Kabbalistically also. So that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, what does he do? He adds hay to Avram, makes him Avraham. Sarai, hay. Also, the Torah tells us that hay lachen zera. I'm giving you a lot of information, right? It says, that Yosef HaTzadik told the Egyptians, hay lachem zera. Here, hay lachem zera, pashut pshat. I'm giving you seeds. Go now, the famine is over. Go and plant. But, right, Kabbalistically, Yosef is telling them, hay is zera. When you have hay in your name, so then you're going to have children. That's why, you see, Sarai couldn't have children. Sarah got hay, had children. Avram couldn't have children. Abraham could have children. Leah had a hay. Bilhah, Zilpah, they all had hays. Who didn't have hay? Rachel. So what did Rachel do? Rachel went and she co-wife. She brought Bilhah. Bilhah had 2 hays. So Bilhah married Yaakov Avinu through Rachel, and then Rachel herself also had children. After she gave Bilhah to Yaakov Avinu, both of them, Bilhah had children and also Rachel. So hay is really, from all these additions, is the purest leather to add. So the Mekubalim say, a lot of times, like if a lady cannot have children, the Mekubalim would say to add a name to her that has hay in it. Chaya, it could be any leather, any word that has hay in it. So, Vayomer Hashem, a few more minutes, El Yehoshua, Ma ra'a Moshe l'osif al shemo shel Yehoshua Yud. Right, how come HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Yehoshua, he had hay already, how come he added Yud to it? אלא כלב נטל שכרו מן הארץ, שנאמר ולא יתן את הארץ, ויהושע נטל שכר 10 השבטים, שנתווסף על שמו יוד 10. הקדוש ברוך הוא added Yud because to his name, ויהושע נטל שכר 10 השבטים. Right, that he got Sachar because he was the one that, he divided the land to the Shvatim. So he got the Yud of, of the Eser, of the Zehu, Schar HaAsara Meraglim, Sha'elehem Ba'olam Haba. That Yehoshua got the reward, because Yehoshua and Kalev were the only spies that did not say Lashon Hara on Eretz Yisrael. So Yehoshua and Kalev got the reward of all the 10 Shvatim. That's the Yud. Right, that's Midrash says that's the reason why, right, that Yehoshua got the Yud. Yud is the reward of them. Another דבר אחר, כיוון שראה משה אותם המרגלים שהיו רשעים, הרבה אמר ליהושע, יושיעך מן הדור הרע הזה. That we know that Moshe Rabbeinu added Yud to the name of Yehoshua, that Yud stands for the name of Hashem. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu should save you from, that you should not conspire with the spies. ויהי אחרי מות משה, אמר רב יהודה אמר רב, בשעה שנפטר משה רבנו בגן עדן, אמר לו ליהושע, שאל ממני כל צדקות שיש לך. Before Moshe Rabbeinu, right, passed on, he told Yehoshua, do you have any questions, anything that I did not clarify to you before I move on? אמר לו רבי, כלום, הנחתיך שעה אחת והלכתי למקום אחר. He says, I was, right, constantly with you. It says, ומשרתו יהושע בן נון, נער, לא ימיש מתוך האוהל. He never left his Rebbe's yeshiva, so to speak. מיד תשש, so in other words, he said, I know it all. Yehoshua said a little bit, גאווה, I know it all. It says, מיד תשש כוחו של יהושע ונשתכחו מהם 300 הלכות. Right away he forgot 300 halachot, נולדו לו 700 ספקות, and he had 700 doubts. ועמדו כל ישראל, and the Jews wanted to kill Yehoshua for that. עמדו ישראל כזה להורגו. אמר לה הקדוש ברוך הוא, לומר לך אי אפשר לך ותורדן במלחמה שנאמר ויחרד מאוד משה ותקום עבור את הירדן הזה. So then, through toiling, etc., Yehoshua was able to retrieve. But we see that, how far, a little bit Yahweh, and, he forgot some of the Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the biggest, the only quality that HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us about Moshe Rabbeinu was the fact that he was Anav. Moshe Rabbeinu was Anav Mikol Adam. He was the most humble, right? And that's why, he was Zochen to be Noten Torah and also to transmit the Torah afterwards to Yehoshua. Okay, time for Arvit. Chadish, دارین کسی ها؟